So we all know AI is poised to completely change how we design and build, well, everything. Our homes, our cities, you name it. But here's the big question. When you're talking about critical infrastructure, things like bridges and skyscrapers, how can you possibly trust an AI that's basically a black box? Today, we're going to dig into a new blueprint that's all about building that trust. All right, let's get into it.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem, right? On one side, you've got the incredible promise of AI revolutionizing architecture, engineering, construction, the whole deal. But on the other side, you've got this huge peril, the black box. These are AI systems that make decisions, but we can't fully explain why. I mean, let's be real. You're not going to hand over the keys to a skyscraper to an algorithm you can't even question. And that is the crisis of confidence that's holding the whole industry back.
So what's the fix? How do we solve this? Well, the research we're diving into today puts forward a really powerful idea. It says, trustworthy AI, it's not just about writing better code or smarter algorithms. The real key is to first build an entire ecosystem of knowledge that is, from the ground up, completely trustworthy. That's the bedrock. Everything else is built on top of that.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to look at this crisis of confidence head on. Then, we'll break down the 3 big reasons for all this mistrust. After that, we'll get to the solution, this thing called the XAIBIM blueprint and its 3 main pillars. And finally, we'll see how all of this takes AI from being a scary black box to something more like a transparent glass box.
Okay, so first up, this crisis of confidence. We're zeroing in on the architecture, engineering, construction, and operations sector. You'll hear it called AECO. Now, for all the hype around AI, adoption in this space has been, well, pretty slow. And why is that? It's simple, really. The stakes are just incredibly high. And the trust? It's just not there yet.
And look, this isn't just a vibe or a gut feeling in the industry. It's actually a legal reality. Major regulations like the EU AI Act have formally classified using AI in construction as high risk. What does that mean? It means any AI system in this field has to meet these incredibly strict standards for safety, for transparency, and for human oversight. The bar is set very, very high.
So what's really at the root of this crisis? Well, the research we're exploring today really pinpoints 3 specific, critical reasons for all this mistrust.
First up is that black box problem we mentioned. A lot of the most powerful AI models are totally opaque. Data goes in, an answer comes out, but what happens in the middle? It's a complete mystery, sometimes even to the people who built it. And in a field like engineering, because the AI said so, is just not an acceptable answer, not even close.
Reason number 2 is what you could call the data quality crisis. It's that classic saying, right? Garbage in, garbage out. And AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. And right now, the AECO industry has a huge shortage of reliable, traceable data. So if you're feeding your AI bad data, you're not just going to get bad results, you're going to get dangerous results.
And the third reason? It's that regulatory imperative we talked about. These new laws like the EU AI Act, they're not just friendly suggestions. They're hard and fast requirements. They demand things like super strict data governance, total traceability of information, and real, meaningful human oversight. And frankly, the black box systems we have now, they just can't meet those demands. No way.
Okay, so that's the problem laid out pretty clearly, a real crisis. So now let's pivot to the solution that's proposed in the source material, the XAIBIM blueprint. And it's really important to get this. This isn't just another app or a piece of software. It's a whole framework, a complete methodology for building trust into AI right from the very beginning.
And this is the crucial part. Instead of trying to bolt on trust as some kind of feature at the end, the XAIBM approach is what's known as trustworthy by design. That means every single piece of it, every component, is built from the ground up to directly tackle those root causes of mistrust that we just went over.
So how does it do that? Well, the whole framework rests on 3 core concepts. The researchers call them the 3 pillars of trust, and these are really the foundational principles that make the whole system tick.
Okay, so what are they? First, you've got semantic governance. That's all about making sure the data is solid. Second, there's a dual architecture, which is a really smart way to handle risk. And third, explainable AI, or XAI, which is the key to transparency. Let's break down exactly what each of those means.
All right, pillar number 1, semantic governance. This one tackles that data quality crisis we talked about head on. How? It actually uses a blockchain layer to create this unchangeable, tamper-proof log for every single piece of data in its repository, which is called CESAR.
The easiest way to think about it is like a digital notary. It stamps every piece of information, certifying exactly where it came from, who checked it, and when.
Pillar number 2 is this really clever risk management strategy called a dual architecture. Basically, it splits the whole process into 2 separate parts. You've got one area, a safe space, where human experts create and double-check all the knowledge. And then you have a completely separate engine that takes that trusted knowledge and applies it. It keeps things neat and, more importantly, safe.
And this is how that dual architecture actually works. On one side, you've got the XAIBIM Studio. Think of this as the supervised classroom. It's where the human experts are, working with the AI to create and validate top-notch knowledge. Then on the other side, you've got the XAIBIM Nexus. This is the certified expert. It's an explainable AI that is not generative. It doesn't make stuff up. It only uses the trusted, verified knowledge from the classroom to do its analysis. This separation is key because it keeps all the risk contained.
And that brings us to the third pillar, which directly tackles that black box problem we keep talking about, explainable AI. The whole system is built for total transparency. So every single time the XAIBIM Nexus comes to a conclusion, it doesn't just give you the answer, it gives you the why. It comes with a complete, easy-to-read chain of reasoning that shows you step-by-step how it got there.
And this is where it all clicks into place. You see how those strict demands from the EU AI Act for data governance, human oversight, transparency, they're not just boxes to be ticked, they are woven right into the fabric of the XAIBIM system. The blockchain handles the data governance. The dual architecture guarantees human oversight, and that chain of reasoning delivers total transparency. It's not just compliant, it's compliance by design.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What's the real-world impact of all this? What does it all mean? It's about a fundamental transformation. It's about taking AI from this intimidating, mysterious black box and turning it into a transparent, controllable tool. A glass box, if you will.
Now, this chain of reasoning thing, it's not magic. It's actually a really methodical process. It's designed to mimic the way an expert engineer thinks. It uses a whole pipeline of different AI components, one for understanding text, another for analyzing layouts, and so on. The system literally traces the path of its own logic, showing you how it got from A to B to C. But the most important part? It presents all this to a human expert who gets to be the final decision maker. It puts people back in the driver's seat.
There's a quote from the research that just nails it perfectly. It says, "The goal here isn't just to get an answer out of an AI. The real goal is to turn the whole thing into an analytical dashboard, a place where the human expert, the specialist, can see everything, understand all the reasoning, and stay in complete control."
And that, right there, is the fundamental shift. This is about moving away from a world where we're just asked to trust AI blindly, to a new world where we're empowered to actually verify its work. It's the huge difference between blind faith and earned confidence. And when you're talking about high-stakes engineering, confidence is everything.
So this all leaves us with one last really big question to think about. We know for a fact that AI is going to design and build our future. Our bridges, our buildings, our cities. But as that happens, who's going to build the trust? Frameworks like this one suggest that maybe the most important thing we need to construct isn't a smarter algorithm, but the very foundation of trust itself.